Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know. First, Senator Warner warns Chinese firm BGI's global DNA collection creates a national security crisis bigger than Huawei, sparking a biotech arms race. So we'll discuss why this genetic data accumulation matters and what it means for geopolitical power and US-China tech competition. Second, AI triggers a creative apocalypse as artists lose commissions and writers become fact-checkers for robots, transforming creative industries overnight. We'll explore how this rapid displacement could transform creative workflows and what it signals for the future of human-in-the-loop AI economies. Third, Bitcoin's 35% crash shatters the digital gold narrative, behaving like a volatile tech stock instead of a safe haven for investors. We'll analyze why this performance is a turning point and how it could affect the competitive dynamics between Bitcoin and traditional assets like gold. Fourth, Taiwan bans Chinese social media app RedNote for a year after 1,700 fraud cases and $8 million in losses, affecting 3 million users. This discussion will reveal how the ban connects to the larger trend of digital sovereignty and what this means for the future of global platform competition. Fifth, Salesforce's Agentforce AI platform sees 330% revenue growth to $540 million, proving legacy software can thrive in the AI era. In this episode, we'll break down this critical development and what it signals for usage-based AI pricing models versus seat-based subscriptions. The top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee just dropped a bombshell warning that will make the Huawei controversy look like child's play. Senator Mark Warner is sounding the alarm about a Chinese company called BGI that's quietly hoovering up DNA data across the globe, and is predicting this genomics giant will eclipse Huawei in both scale and national security consequences. The comparison to Huawei isn't just rhetoric, it points to a specific business strategy. You see, BGI is using what some call the Huawei playbook for DNA. It leverages massive Chinese state subsidies to offer incredibly low-cost DNA sequencing services. This allows them to undercut Western competitors, like the US company Illumina, and rapidly gain market share, especially in China. BGI's acquisition of the US firm Complete Genomics back in 2013 gave them a huge technological leg up, and now, with state backing, they are a dominant force. What's truly staggering is that BGI operates DNA sequencing labs worldwide and has helped build national genetic databases and pandemic testing systems in multiple countries. US intelligence officials believe this gives BGI access to one of the largest collections of genetic data on Earth. This isn't just a hypothetical threat. We're seeing entire nations essentially outsource their national genome. For example, Saudi Arabia's national procurement company recently signed a massive contract with the BGI joint venture to provide genetic testing across dozens of public hospitals. Serbia has also signed a deal with BGI to build a national genome sequencing center. This whole situation brings up enormous questions about data sovereignty. When one country holds the genetic source code of another's population, it creates unprecedented geopolitical leverage. This is the polar opposite of regulations like the EU's GDPR, which are designed to keep personal data private and under strict local control. We're talking about a DNA arms race where genetic profiles can reveal everything from ancestry to disease risk, and when you combine that with artificial intelligence, it becomes a surveillance and tracking goldmine. But Warner's most chilling revelation centers on what he calls the super soldier threat. He's warning that China is exploring human performance enhancement and military biotechnology, with research spanning population DNA collection and AI-driven human performance modeling. When asked about the possibility of genetically enhanced soldiers, Warner's response was blunt: "It's terrifying." Now, get this. The idea of genetically editing soldiers like in a sci-fi movie is still largely theoretical. The science is incredibly complex and filled with ethical landmines. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer to this. The US military is already deep into human performance enhancement, just through different means. Agencies like DARPA are funding programs that use non-invasive neurostimulation to accelerate learning and AI-driven training to optimize physical performance. So while the super soldier genetic threat is on the horizon, the race to build a better soldier using technology is already well underway, just without altering their DNA. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is Warner also throwing shade at the US intelligence community, saying they've moved too slowly on biotech threats because they're still focused on old school government and military targets instead of commercial tech sectors. He revealed that only in the past 2 to 3 years has the US seriously expanded spying into AI semiconductors, and biotechnology. Warner's criticism is significant because it points to a real structural problem. Recent reports indicate the Office of the Director of National Intelligence has faced significant budget cuts and staff reductions, leading to the reported dissolution of key units like the Foreign Malign Influence Centre and the Cyber Threat Intelligence Integration Centre. These were the very groups designed to track the kind of commercial and technological threats BGI represents. This raises a serious question. If we're dismantling the very tools we need to monitor these threats, how can we possibly keep up? And the situation gets even more complicated. Warner says the Trump administration has damaged critical intelligence sharing relationships with allies in the Five Eyes alliance, with the UK, Netherlands, and France now reluctant to share intel because they believe the US is politicizing intelligence products. It all comes down to a stark reality. China is positioning itself as the global standards setter across multiple technology domains, and Warner believes BGI represents the next phase of technological competition where genetic data becomes a strategic weapon that could fundamentally reshape global power dynamics. This isn't just about building better technology, it's about writing the rules for everyone else. China is actively working to influence international standards bodies for things like genomics and bioinformatics. By getting its experts into leadership positions at organizations like the ISO, China can shape the technical standards for everything from data formats to lab protocols. This creates a lock-in effect where the whole world becomes dependent on Chinese technology and standards, giving them a massive strategic and economic advantage for decades to come. From one form of technological disruption that threatens national security, we now turn to another that's causing an apocalypse in the creative world. A 22-year-old artist just dropped a bombshell that should terrify every creative professional. She's completely abandoned commissions as her main income source because clients can now generate whatever they want with AI. Aisha Balabi, who creates furry art, admits she can no longer tell the difference between AI-generated work and human creativity, and believe it or not, neither can her potential customers. Actually, this is what experts are calling a provenance crisis. It's becoming so difficult to verify who or what made a piece of content. In response, major tech companies are scrambling to create systems like content credentials, which act like a digital nutrition label to prove a work's origin. But these systems are not a silver bullet. Research shows that even the most advanced digital watermarks can be easily erased with simple editing. And as of now, very few platforms have actually adopted these standards. It's a digital Wild West. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. A copywriter returned from maternity leave after just 3 years to discover AI had literally stolen her job. Nikki Tibble found that all the smaller gigs that used to pay her bills, blog posts, social media content, emails had vanished into the AI void. She's now reduced to being a fact checker for robot written copy. So the thing is, Nikki has stumbled into a brand new and very controversial job category, the human editor in an AI economy. The critical point here is that while AI is good, it's not perfect. It still makes mistakes, lacks nuance, and needs a human to ensure quality. The big question is whether this is a sustainable new career path or just a temporary low-wage gig that will disappear as the AI models get even better. It's a real tightrope walk for creatives. Meanwhile, a 67-year-old video producer just fired his own staff who refused to embrace AI and completely transformed his business into an AI-powered machine that cranks out digital twins and advertisements in 175 languages. JP Allard's company Mirame has eliminated the need for filming, post-production, and most human involvement entirely. While that sounds extreme, the business logic is compelling. Research into this all-in AI pivot strategy shows some staggering numbers. Agencies that fully embrace AI are reporting cost reductions of 60 to 70% on video production by cutting out travel, crews, and reshoots. And they're turning projects around 70 to 90% faster. It's a massive competitive advantage. And that's why we're seeing some entrepreneurs make such radical moves. The numbers back up the chaos. Researchers found that more than 2/3 of creative industry workers believe AI has destroyed their job security, and half of all novelists think they're about to be replaced entirely. And it's not just visual artists and writers. Musicians are feeling the heat too. A 21-year-old artist discovered his own mother had fallen in love with an AI-generated blues album, one of 30 releases pumped out by a single AI artist in just 1 year. Ross Stewart watched in horror as advertisers started choosing AI-generated tracks over licensing real music from actual humans. Interestingly enough, there's a psychological element at play here. Studies show that while people might enjoy AI-generated art or music, their perception of it changes dramatically once they know it was made by a machine. One study found people consistently devalue art they believe is AI-made. The reason seems to be our craving for authenticity. We value the human story, the emotion, and the effort behind the creation. An Ipsos survey found that about 3 in 4 Americans prefer humans to create their news and entertainment. So while AI can flood the market, it can't fake the human connection we're all looking for. The velocity of this takeover is unprecedented. As one industry veteran put it, we used to have 5 or 6 years to transition from typewriters to computers. Now entire creative careers are being obliterated in months. The creative apocalypse isn't coming, it's already here, and it's moving faster than anyone imagined possible. Speaking of chaos and disruption, the world of cryptocurrency is having its own moment of reckoning. Bitcoin just got called out for acting like a volatile teenager instead of the mature digital gold it claims to be. After wiping out all of its 2025 gains in a brutal sell-off, the world's most famous cryptocurrency is facing a credibility crisis that cuts to the heart of why people invest in it. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on this. Bitcoin crashed over 35% from its October record high, while gold maintained its reputation as a stable store of value. When tech stocks recently tanked and investors needed protection, Bitcoin didn't act like digital gold at all. It acted like just another risky tech asset and got hammered alongside everything else. What really brought this to a head was an ironic development. The very tools designed to make Bitcoin mainstream, the new spot Bitcoin ETFs, are paradoxically what's tying it so closely to the stock market. The recent approval of these ETFs brought a flood of new institutional money into Bitcoin. But these big players trade Bitcoin just like they trade other high-growth tech stocks. The data is undeniable. By May 2024, the 90-day correlation between Bitcoin and the Nasdaq 100 hit 0.46, its highest point in nearly a year. The key takeaway is that the very vehicle that gave Bitcoin legitimacy is also stripping away its core promise of being an independent safe haven. Nate Gerassi from Novadice Wealth Management delivered the knockout punch assessment. Bitcoin is behaving like a volatile teenager, not the mature store of value investors desperately want it to be. The cryptocurrency is only 15 to 16 years old and still has to prove itself, while gold has a millennia-long track record of actually protecting portfolios during market chaos. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That teenager comment highlights how the idea of a store of value is really about belief and trust, and that trust is shifting dramatically between generations. While older investors see a volatile teenager, younger generations see the future. A recent survey found that a staggering 73% of investors aged 24 to 45 prefer Bitcoin over gold for long-term gains. For Gen Z and millennials, digital is their native language, and they are allocating their trust and their capital to this digital asset. So while one generation sees a risky teenager, the next sees a revolutionary technology coming of age. This isn't a one-off event either. The track record is mixed at best. During April's tariff tantrum when stocks sold off, Bitcoin actually performed well and caught investors' attention. But when the recent tech stock weakness hit, Bitcoin got crushed even harder than the broader market. The situation presents a fascinating duality. The digital gold narrative is failing as a hedge against the S&P 500, but it's a completely different story in countries facing economic collapse. In places like Turkey, where the local currency, the lira, has been decimated by inflation, Bitcoin isn't a speculative bet, it's a lifeline. In 2023, while the global crypto market was rocky, Bitcoin rose 78% in lira terms. For Turkish citizens, Bitcoin is acting exactly like digital gold, protecting their savings from being wiped out. This shows that Bitcoin's value proposition is radically different depending on where you live. This creates a massive problem for the digital gold narrative that has driven billions of dollars into Bitcoin investments. Investors bought into the idea that Bitcoin would move independently from stocks and provide portfolio protection. Instead, they're getting a crypto asset that amplifies market volatility rather than hedging against it. The leverage factor made everything worse. Gerassi pointed out that excessive leverage in the crypto market needed to be flushed out, which explains why Bitcoin's decline was so prolonged and brutal. When the selling started, over-leveraged positions created a cascade of forced liquidations. Now, when we hear leverage, we often think of past crypto blow-ups driven by retail traders on unregulated exchanges. But the game has completely changed. The new face of leverage is institutional. Big, sophisticated players are now dominating the Bitcoin futures market on regulated platforms like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or CME. In fact, the CME has now surpassed all other exchanges in open interest. What's wild is that the same kind of leverage that creates these brutal sell-offs is now being wielded by the very institutions that were supposed to bring stability to the market, with the CME alone reporting over $900 billion in crypto derivatives volume in a single quarter. Despite attracting $22 billion in ETF inflows this year, Bitcoin's recent crash proves it still trades more like a speculative growth stock than digital gold. Until Bitcoin can consistently provide uncorrelated protection during market downturns, its digital gold claim remains nothing more than marketing hype backed by teenage-level emotional volatility. While investors are grappling with the volatility of digital assets, governments are fighting their own battles in the digital world. Taiwan just dropped the hammer on a Chinese social media app with 3 million users, and the numbers behind this ban are absolutely staggering. RedNote, the TikTok-like shopping platform that's been exploding in popularity worldwide, just got completely blocked across the entire island for a full year. So how does a government actually block an app? It comes down to a technique called DNS filtering. Think of the domain name system, or DNS, as the internet's phone book. When you type in a website, DNS looks up the right number or IP address to connect you. What Taiwan is doing is essentially telling that phone book operator to refuse to give out the number for RedNote. For most users, the app will simply stop working. The story begins with a decision that caught everyone by surprise, backed by some staggering numbers. Taiwan's Criminal Investigation Bureau detected over 1,700 fraud cases on this single app since last year alone. We're talking about losses exceeding 247 million new Taiwan dollars. That's nearly $8 million vanishing through one platform's shopping scams. Now, while the fraud is a huge problem, it also gives Taiwan a very strong, legally defensible reason to take action. Some experts believe the fraud cases serve as a convenient justification for a much deeper national security move. It's a way to address concerns about Chinese data collection and influence without having to argue about more abstract threats. This is a tactic we're seeing more often, where financial crime becomes the public reason for a geopolitical decision, but the fraud is just the tip of the iceberg. Taiwan's interior minister went on the record saying RedNote's operators completely ghosted regulators when asked to submit basic cybersecurity improvement plans. The company doesn't even have a local office to handle compliance issues. They essentially told Taiwan's government to pound sand when it came to protecting user data. When we place RedNote's obligations to Beijing alongside its need to comply with international rules, the contradiction becomes clear. The company is caught in an impossible crossfire. Research, including leaked internal documents, shows its parent company in China, Xiaohongshu, operates under immense pressure from Beijing to censor content that the Chinese government deems sensitive. This includes everything from politics to public unrest. So, on one hand, they have to please Beijing to survive at home. On the other, they have to comply with international rules on data, privacy, and security to operate abroad. Pleasing one government often means angering the other, which can lead to paralysis or, in this case, simply ignoring Taiwan's requests. But this goes far beyond just shopping scams. This ban comes as Taiwan faces mounting pressure from Beijing, which views the island as a breakaway province that must eventually return to Chinese control. China hasn't ruled out using force to make that happen. RedNote isn't just some innocent social media app. It's become a key battleground in the information war, with Taiwan citing growing concerns about Beijing using social media platforms to spread disinformation and cultivate pro-China sentiment among users. This decision brings both the benefit of removing a threat and comes with the inherent opportunity to boost its own tech ecosystem. It's part of a larger strategy, some call digital sovereignty. Taiwan has been actively pushing initiatives like its Digital Nation program to build up its own tech ecosystem. The goal is to reduce reliance on foreign apps, especially those with ties to Beijing, and encourage users to move to local Taiwanese platforms, or at least to Western ones like Instagram, where the data security risks are viewed differently. This ban creates a vacuum for 3 million users, and Taiwan is hoping its own companies can step in to fill it. The timing is explosive. RedNote's user base skyrocketed this year as Americans fled to the platform seeking TikTok alternatives amid US ban threats. Now, Taiwan is showing exactly why those security concerns aren't paranoia. They're cold, hard reality backed by 1,700 fraud cases and millions in losses. Taiwan just sent a crystal clear message. Chinese social media platforms that refuse to play by basic security rules and enable massive fraud operations will get completely cut off. no matter how many millions of users they claim. While some tech platforms are facing government crackdowns, legacy giants are proving they can still innovate. Salesforce just delivered a number that has Wall Street doing a complete 180 on artificial intelligence. The company's AI platform Agentforce saw its annual recurring revenue explode 330% year over year to $540 million. And suddenly, investors who were convinced AI would kill cloud software companies are scrambling to get back in. A while back, we talked about how some of Microsoft's biggest customers were balking at paying $30 per user per month for Copilot, and how even the more agentic pitches were running into enterprise friction. That's exactly why this Agentforce print hits different. It's usage-driven revenue in a space where seat-based pricing has been a sticking point. What makes this so explosive is that for months, Wall Street has been treating software companies like they're about to be extinct, with Salesforce shares down 21% this year, while the NASDAQ soared 22%. The entire cloud software industry has been in the doghouse because investors figured AI would just replace these companies entirely. We previously analysed how hypersensitive this market has become to AI headlines. Remember the OECD and Bank of England warnings about a potential AI bubble? So a number that proves real adoption can reset sentiment almost instantly. And this fear wasn't just random panic. The worry was that new nimble AI native companies would pop up and offer services so cheaply and efficiently that massive legacy companies like Salesforce, with their huge overheads and complex platforms, would become obsolete. But Salesforce just flipped that entire survival narrative on its head. But Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff just went on the record with a statement that cuts right to the heart of this fear. He told CNBC that investors somehow think software companies are under arrest from AI when the opposite is true. And now he's got the numbers to back up that bold claim. Continuing our last discussion about the gap between hype and actual deployment, he's framing Salesforce as playing offense with AI, not defense. The crucial detail behind this Agentforce number is its business model, which is based on consumption. Companies pay for flex credits or per conversation. So that $540 million isn't just a subscription fee. It's a direct measure of how much businesses are actually using the AI. It proves that this isn't just hype, it's a tool that's actively being deployed to get work done. And unlike the per-seat sticker shock we talked about around Copilot, this model ties spend to realize value instead of license count. The earnings beat was just the appetizer. Salesforce crushed expectations with $3.25 per share versus the $2.86 Wall Street was expecting. But the real story is this Agentforce platform that builds AI agents to automate business tasks. Even analysts who were initially skeptical are now calling the customer adoption strong and encouraging. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. Salesforce is doubling down hard, acquiring AI startups Regrello and YE during the quarter, with YE specializing in AI that generates code from natural language instructions. The acquisition of YE in particular signals a major strategic shift. The goal is to democratize customization. By allowing non-developers to build what they need just by typing in plain English, Salesforce is making its platform stickier and more essential than ever. It's a move to empower what the industry calls citizen developers, and it could fundamentally change the ecosystem of Salesforce consultants who traditionally handled this kind of work. Benioff dropped another bombshell when he explained why everyone's getting excited about Agentforce. This is what AI was meant to be. It brings together humans and data and AI and apps, delivering an incredible experience for companies. In practice, this isn't about replacing humans, it's about augmenting them. Research shows that AI tools like this can boost agent productivity by up to 14%. They do this by automating the repetitive, boring stuff like generating standard email replies or summarizing long customer calls. This frees up the human agent to focus on the complex problems that require real empathy and critical thinking, which in turn can reduce burnout and actually improve job satisfaction. The stock popped 5% and is now heading for its best week since 2023. After months of being written off as AI roadkill, Salesforce just proved that the companies that can successfully integrate artificial intelligence aren't getting replaced by the AI revolution. They're leading it. And given how skittish we've seen markets get on, any hint that the AI adoption curve might be slower than hoped, this kind of usage-backed growth is exactly the antidote investors were looking for. Ultimately, this highlights a major strategic battle in tech right now. We're seeing Salesforce use a bolt-on strategy, acquiring innovative startups like YE and integrating them into its platform, which is fast and flexible. At the same time, Microsoft is taking a completely different path with its built-in strategy, embedding its Copilot AI deeply into its existing products for a seamless experience. A while back, we noted the adoption friction and even some headline noise around quotas versus growth targets in that ecosystem. Microsoft pushed back on those reports, but it underscored how tricky enterprise rollout can be. The question now is which strategy will win in the long run? Speed and flexibility or deep, seamless integration?
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.